Hello, I'm Suzanne Donovan. Today I'm joined by Rachel Heideck. We're going to be discussing organizing around health and safety in the context of the current COVID-19 pandemic and ways to make positive change in your workplace for you and your coworkers. The Western New York Council on Occupational Safety and Health, or WNCOSH, was born out of the Love Canal, a neighborhood in Niagara Falls that residents discovered in 1978 was built on the site of a former chemical dump site. Community volunteers worked with residents to push for the relocation and to help identify the toxins seeping into the homes, schools, and playgrounds of folks in that community. Some of those volunteers went on to found WinCosh the following year. Over the years, we have worked with many workers to improve working conditions and fight for justice. In the upper left corner is a photo from a Love Canal protest. In the upper right, a photo from a 7-Eleven protest where workers worked to address issues of workplace violence on overnight shifts. In the lower left is Winkosh's 20th anniversary party. Our celebration was shifted from a banquet hall to the steps of the Cheektowaga Police Department after our then executive director, Roger Cook, and the then president of the United Farm Workers, Arturo Rodriguez, were arrested after stopping at a local supermarket to discuss the grape boycott being promoted by workers. And in the lower right-hand corner is an image from the WENT campaign, where Winkosh assisted the workers fighting to secure their first contract to address serious issues of workplace safety and health. It's important to remember that workers don't only have to rely on their employer's choices to improve working conditions. Workers can make demands and organize for change in ways that are legally protected. However, we need to understand how to use those rights. Since we're talking about organizing around workplace safety and health, it's important to understand that under federal law, it is the employer's responsibility to provide a safe and healthful workplace. This became law with the passage of the OSHA Act in 1970. There are three legally protected methods to fight for safer workplaces. One is to organize a union, another is the OSHA right to refuse unsafe work, and the third is protected concerted activity. And we'll discuss each of them in turn. Under Section 7 of the National Labor Relations Act, workers are legally entitled to organize a union. Section 7 says that employees shall have the right to self-organization, to form, join, or bargain collectively through representation of their own choosing, and to engage in other concerted activities for the purpose of collective bargaining. Organizing a union can yield important long-term benefits to current and future workers. However, as a method to make immediate change, it's less likely to keep workers safe during this pandemic. Some of the pros and cons around organizing a union as a method for change during the current pandemic are that it can affect all aspects of work and the results are legally bonded. However, it is difficult to achieve and it can take a long time. OSHA's right to refuse dangerous work allows workers to refuse work that can expose workers to serious injury or death. In order to claim protection under this rule, the worker must meet all four of the following conditions. Where possible, ask the employer to eliminate the danger, and if the employer fails to do so, and you refuse to work in good faith. This means that you genuinely believe that an imminent danger exists and that a reasonable person would agree that there is a real danger of death or serious injury, and that there isn't enough time due to the urgency of the hazard to get it corrected through regular enforcement channels, such as requesting an OSHA inspection. However, as far as we know, the OSHA right to refuse has not been used successfully during the pandemic.
Finally, we have protected concerted activity. Concerted activity is when two or more coworkers come together to talk about and or advocate for changes in their workplace. It can include reporting unsafe working conditions or violations of law to state or federal government. Even if one employee is acting alone, they can still be participating in concerted activity if their activity is done for the benefit of all of their coworkers. Next slide. Some examples of protected concerted activity are talking to your coworkers about your wages, benefits, or working conditions, protesting, striking, circulating a petition for asking for better hours, It can also mean a group refusal to work in unsafe conditions or openly talking about your pay and benefits in the workplace. Joining together with coworkers, even on social media, to talk directly to your employer, to the government, or the media about problems in your workplace. It can include talking about your pay or pay concerns with your coworkers, walking off the job with coworkers to protest an unsafe policy and telling reporters about your protest, or refusing to divulge the names of workers who signed a petition protesting management. However, it's important to note that not all work-related activity is considered protected concerted activity. Some examples of things that wouldn't qualify include complaining to your boss, acting only to help yourself, acting when your coworkers have refused to do so, emotional outbursts that disturb the workplace, using social media to insult your boss, or abusive behavior towards supervisors or coworkers like swearing or violence. During this pandemic, protected concerted activity has been the most effective way to organize around health and safety conditions in the workplace. There have been hundreds of actions around the country demanding changes to the workplace and other practices to address issues around COVID-19. If you follow the rules of protected concerted activity when you're carrying it out, it is illegal for your employer to take action against you. This means that your boss can't demote, terminate, or fire you for participating in protected concerted activity. They also can't arbitrarily change your work schedule, cut your pay or benefits, or deny you overtime or promotion. Harassing, intimidating, threatening, or unfairly disciplining you are also illegal for your employer to do in response to protected concerted activity. And it is also illegal for them to prevent you from communicating with your coworkers about your concerns. Next slide. If your employer does retaliate against you for talking about workplace issues or taking action at work, you can file a complaint with the NLRB at nlrb.gov and click on Find Your Regional Office. You can also contact us at the Windcosh Workers Center at 716-206-3550.
So, if you're going to organize for safer workplaces during the current pandemic, what are some examples of COVID-19 related demands? Some things might include the enforcement of universal wearing of masks, reconfiguring work sites to reduce density, limit contact, and encourage social distancing using barriers, floor markings, expanded layouts, and reduced scheduling. You can also take steps to reduce density in shared spaces, take steps to reduce density in congested areas, ask for transparency regarding positive COVID-19 cases in the workplace, the following of rigorous disinfection protocols following positive cases, the providing a proper type of PPE, including different types of masks, as well as paid sick leave. The first thing that your employer can do is enforce proper wearing of masks when you are indoors in close, extended contact with others and where it's not possible to socially distance. Some studies show that an 80% adoption rate of wearing face coverings can significantly flatten the curve. If your employer is not enforcing the universal wearing of masks, they don't care about the safety of their workers. Although much of the talk has been around PPE and masks, it is the lowest rung on the workplace safety ladder. One of the best ways to reduce the risk of exposure is to increase physical distancing and separation. Some examples of ways to reconfigure work sites include installing floor markings, installing barriers to limit direct contact, reconfiguring the workspace to increase distances between workstations to comply with CDC guidance, and reducing overall density in the workplace. Reducing density in shared spaces is a part of reconfiguring work sites, but paying special attention to shared spaces such as break rooms and bathrooms is particularly important because these spaces have some of the highest risks of exposure. This can include changing shared spaces like break rooms, locker rooms, time card stations to reduce crowding, adjusting scheduling to reduce density in shared spaces, and scheduling more frequent cleanings in shared areas. Along the same lines, it is important to identify and plan for the risk of exposures in congested areas such as entrances, elevators, hallways, stairs, etc. This can include a number of controls. In the picture we see here, they have barriers, they have markings on the floor that indicate how far away from the elevator people should stand. There's a barrier in the middle to tell people which side of the elevator to enter on, as well as clear signage indicating what you should do and proper protocols. Transparency regarding positive COVID-19 cases is extremely important in the workplace. In order to protect workers, it is important to identify when there is a COVID-19 case and who has been exposed. This will not only protect workers, it will also slow the spread, as well as protecting family members, community members, and loved ones as well. Employers should have a plan to rigorously clean following the identification of a positive COVID-19 case. Failing to adequately disinfect all possible points of contact risks infecting more employees. Our understanding of what it takes to effectively disinfect continues to evolve as we learn more about the virus. If you're concerned that your employer may not be doing enough, you can contact us at the Winkosh Worker Center. Employers are required to provide appropriate PPE and maintain an adequate supply. However, there's little in the way of industry by industry guidance, and what there is largely inadequate. For example, your employer may provide a bartender or waiter in a sports bar with cloth masks. However, with patrons likely to be engaged in loud talking, cheering, etc., a cloth mask will do basically nothing to protect those employees. In fact, remaining 6 feet apart is likely insufficient to keep workers safe in such circumstances. Workers may want to fight for N95 masks and face shields to have a minimal level of protection. It all depends on the level of risk that workers are willing to accept. Finally, we get to paid sick time. Even if your employer does everything else, without paid sick time, it can all be undone if a sick worker feels they do not have a choice but to report to work. Beyond the pandemic, Winkosh believes that paid sick time should be a right for all workers all of the time. Paid sick time has many benefits, including providing economic security, provides security to both families and individuals, and allows for workers to care for themselves and their families without fear of reprisal. It can also help reduce the spread of many communicable diseases, including COVID-19.
So, if you want to improve the conditions of your workplace during COVID-19 and always, here are some initial steps that you can take. You can talk to your coworkers about improving these working conditions and concerns. You can discuss concrete changes to improve the workplace. Another good step is to evaluate resources, including organizational assets, customers, clientele, community partners, media, and employer-employee relations. Developing concrete goals that would lead to the changes you want is also a good step, as well as developing a plan, including tactics and methods to achieve those goals. Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel, and we're going to be talking about an example of workers organizing to make their workplace safer during COVID-19. Next slide. The focus of this example is a group of temporary workers in Chicago who work for Voyant Beauty, which is a company that makes personal care products like hand soap for Johnson & Johnson and other companies. Voyant workers first took action in April when they were concerned that their employer wasn't doing enough to keep them safe and protect them from COVID-19. Sadly, one day after their plant closed for cleaning, a temporary worker named Norma Martinez passed away. The day after her death, you can switch slides, a group of coworkers held a car caravan right outside the Voyant Beauty manufacturing plant, calling for improved sanitation and reduced exposure to COVID-19.
Around the same time as Voyant temp workers did the car caravan, they also put together a petition for the Illinois governor. This petition was on behalf of all temporary workers in Illinois who are technically employed by temp agencies but work at the facilities of other employers. Next slide. This petition demanded that the governor take steps to, one, get rid of the requirement to punch in with a biometric punch clock, to mandate social distancing in the workplace, provide paid sick time so that folks don't have to work while they're sick, and provide paid leave time for parents to take care of children when they don't have anywhere else for them to go. Next slide. So they also took action by filing a complaint with the Illinois Attorney General, who is currently accepting and investigating workplace issues related to COVID-19 in Illinois. Next slide. The New York Attorney General is also filling that role for New York workers who have workplace issues related to COVID. So if that's something that you are wondering about with your workplace, either your employer is doing something that is against the standards for your area or that are not following the guidelines that they should be, you can always call us and we are happy to help you get in touch with the Attorney General. Next slide.
After that, and most recently on May 14th, the temporary workers at Voyant Beauty held another protest outside of their manufacturing facility and delivered a new petition to Voyant Beauty, demanding that they provide paid sick leave and childcare leave as required by the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. COVID-19 has amplified many of the issues that workers face and brought new problems to light as well. Voyant workers demanding the paid sick leave and childcare leave provided by emergency legislation like the Families First Act shows us that there are many issues to organize around in the workplace, which is something that is especially true right now. Next slide. So the fight at Voyant Beauty is still going on, and you can keep up with their campaign on Instagram and on Twitter at Shy Workers, or at Shy Temps on both of those platforms. They post information to their website as well, which is www.chicagoworkerscollaborative.org. And they keep updating with the next steps in their campaign.
Hi everybody, so this video will cover how Amazon workers across the country are coming together to push back against Amazon's anti-worker, profit-focused business model during the COVID-19 pandemic. Amazon workers' movement for better working conditions was growing before the pandemic began, but has only become more visible since then because of the company's unsafe practices. Since the start of the pandemic, Amazon workers across the country have staged work actions in response to COVID-19. Warehouse workers, flex workers, and tech workers have all participated in these actions, demonstrating cross-job solidarity within the company. This solidarity comes from all of the things that unite Amazon workers. They work for the same extremely profitable employer under many of the same policies, and they are extremely busy and work in high-pressure environments. Next slide. The actions Amazon workers have participated in were motivated by common issues, including positive COVID tests of workers and a lack of disclosure to other workers in that workplace. The unjust firings of worker leaders like Bashir Muhammad and Christian Smalls, insufficient cleaning of facilities, inadequate sick time policies, and a refusal to extend their temporary unlimited unpaid time off policy, as well as a lack of effective contact tracing. Workers in warehouses and other Amazon workplaces across the country have organized walkouts, strikes, protests, sick-outs, and consumer pressure campaigns, including boycotts. Even when entire workplaces have not participated in these actions, they have attracted a lot of negative attention to Amazon at the national level. Next slide.
So to dive a little deeper into a specific group of Amazon workers, we can talk about the work that's being done at a warehouse in Shakopee, Minnesota. Workers at this location have been organizing for better working conditions for the past couple years, and in the past have pulled off work stoppages and won a worker-selected safety committee. Unfortunately, that safety committee has since been canceled, but they're working on it. Most recently, they walked out in the middle of the night on April 26th after one of their coworkers, Faiza Osman, was fired for staying home to watch her children. They demanded that she be reinstated and that no future retaliation against workers who speak out be taken. They also demanded a shutdown and deep cleaning of the facility with full pay for workers, an extension of the unlimited unpaid time off or UPT policy, and to reinstate the canceled worker selected safety committee. As a result of all of their organizing, as well as a 50+ person walkout, Faiza Osman was reinstated. Although their other demands at that Shakopee warehouse have not yet been met, this campaign is just another step in their fight for a voice on the job. You can switch slides. You can keep up with their campaign on their Facebook page, which is called the Awood Center. And it's a worker center that focuses on building East African worker power. Hi, everybody. This video will discuss how McDonald's workers at 2 service plazas on I-95 in Connecticut have been organizing for safer working conditions after 2 of their coworkers got sick with COVID-19 in April. After their employer learned of these cases, they left both McDonald's locations, one in Milford, Connecticut at a service plaza, and one in Darien, Connecticut, also a McDonald's, both open and improperly sanitized. They simply replaced the shifts that had been working and then were sent home because of the cases with a different group of new workers without sanitizing the workplace in between. To respond and demand proper cleaning from their employers, the workers in Darien and Milford staged car caravan protests on April 14th. Then on May 21st, the Darien location held a second car caravan. In addition to insufficient disinfection practices, they were protesting low wages and a lack of paid sick days, both of which make it hard for the workers to stay home when they're sick. So there are a few things that we can take away from these actions pulled off by the workers at the McDonald's at these service centers in Connecticut. For one, they were really strategic. They coordinated car caravans on the same day at the same franchise company, McDonald's, at locations run by the same service plaza operator. They also drew attention to their situation very effectively, in part because they joined together and worked with 32BJ SEIU, which is the union that they were already working with, to garner a lot of media attention and other support. By organizing this action, they also strengthened their worker power as well as community solidarity around their issue, which will help as they go forward into future campaigns. Lastly, this whole situation serves as an example of how properly disinfecting workplaces after COVID cases is an issue that can be organized around, and also something that will continue to be an issue as more states reopen.
If you have questions about any of the things that we've discussed in this video, or would like to start organizing in your workplace, you can contact us at 716-206-3550, which is our hotline and is available in 14 languages. You can also contact us via email at inquiry@wincosh.org, and we're happy to answer any questions you have about your workplace and your rights.